what we're trying to produce with the metadata registry is a fairly complete multi-user environment for developing vocabularies and metadata schemas. And the emphasis is, at least in part, on multi-user. We started out in 2005. We're an NSF-funded project. We ran for 2 years with 4 people. We're down to 2 people, half-time, working on an extension. But we're kind of committed to keep going in case anybody's thinking this isn't an ongoing useful project. We've gathered domain name for 10 years, and we've got long-term hosting, and so we're just going to keep it going. Since this is Code4Lib, I included a what's under the hood slide, which is PHP 5, MySQL 5, the Symfony PHP framework, which is Ruby on Rails-like clone-ish kind of thing, the Arc RDF library, and we're using Selenium and PHP unit for functional testing. And sorry. So we're calling ourselves a registry, and there's some question about what exactly a registry is. When most people think of registries, they think of a place where things are registered, where you can go and find something, or there's a kind of canonical domain space. We're trying to do all that, but what we're really trying to do, in addition to setting up a permanent domain space, is create a place where you can do all these things. If you have no need for any of this stuff, if you have no need for a permanent domain, if you've got your own, if you can set up and maintain content negotiation or don't care, if you've got only one contributor, if you can crack changes and versions over time or don't care, you've got subversion, whatever. You have a simple way to move from developing in a multi-user environment to publishing. Don't need to manage HTML, RDF, and XHTML and XML. Have a way to notify dependent systems that you've made changes, something other than sending out an email to the list. And don't care about participating in a broader community of people doing the same thing you are, then you don't need any of this. And I can stop now. But a lot of people do. So I'm going to try really hard not to read these slides. But basically what we're trying to produce is these things. A place where there's a web of trust, where a user has to register, and once registered has to register an owner. And the owner, you can't register vocabularies until you've actually registered an owner. So that you know who did what to when. You know how to find things. You know you have some sense of whether or not you can trust the source of what's going on. It's not just Googling and finding something on the web. We're also trying to provide a whole bunch of services and import of existing vocabularies, version management, content negotiation, support for a Dublin Core abstract model, the ability to register complex objects as well as simple vocabularies. And this is what I was talking about before, the web of trust, the ability to know who did what and make sure that there's someone behind what's up there and they've said who they are and they're available, and you can email them if you need to. This is the concept scheme registration screen. It describes the concepts. It's kind of an overall grouping of the concepts that have been registered as part of a concept scheme. This is a concept screen. I'm going to give links to how to get there. We have an open sandbox you can go in and play, so I'm not going to do a lot of demoing. I'm just going to show you where it is. User registration is far too easy, and once you're there, you can basically do anything you want and play around. We have some requirements. We support multiple languages. We require that concepts have a label, and we have specific links to show RDF and some other stuff. So one of the things that's happened as we've been developing this is that we started out thinking that we were registering terms and vocabularies. We still use the vocabulary terminology. But what's really happened is that we're trying to register concepts. So we're using SKOS, Simple Knowledge Organization System, which is a W3 sheet track recommendation. And in SKOS, what we usually think of as terms become labels for concepts. We allow one label per concept, like I mentioned before, sort of. And the concepts are a way of disambiguating without having to keep things in a particular context, the different meanings for a term, the different concepts behind a term. So there's a whole bunch of terms here. There's a single term here for scale, for instance, and it could be a type of skin, something that measures weight, a parasite that eats my orchids, the ability of a system to handle increasing load. All those are different concepts related to the term scale. In our system, each one of these has a different URI, and they all have the same pref label. Scale. All these concepts are then gathered into concept schemes, which are very much like vocabularies, controlled vocabularies or taxonomies. The terms are assigned as concepts, and this is simply an organizational mechanism, like the carrier terms in RDA. All those are been translated into concepts, and then they've been listed as the carrier terms. I had this set up so I could jump back and forth between a browser and this, and that's gone. So we maintain editing at the property level for concepts. You can have as many properties to a concept as you want. We're using the SKOS vocabulary, so there are different properties for labels, definition property, properties for relationships between concepts, and properties for annotations. And we manage those in basically a drop-down list. And we also allow you to create relationships between concepts and different vocabularies, so that this allows for mapping between different concept schemes. And we have support for property level status and links to other specific properties. The whole mechanism by which we're managing status right at the moment is changing. Right at the moment, it's not complex enough to really handle a normal production environment. We want to be able to change the status from unpublished to published, from private to public. Right now we have a completely different system for managing unpublished versus published. We actually simply created a sandbox to handle unpublished, and then broke the mechanism by which you can actually retrieve the vocabularies via RDF. And that was our way of very quick and dirty unpublished. You can't get to it, so it's unpublished. We provide the ability to handle multiple users in the system, so you can have several different users at several different role levels. How am I doing on time? I wasn't paying any attention. Oh, sorry, that's good. You can you can have several different roles assigned to different users, and then you can add users to the vocabulary. So you can provide some mechanism for restricting access, and you can make sure that people have access and can make editing changes. You can also, it also keeps track of the history so that you can see who did what to when. And we're publishing over HTTP and RDF and XHTML. We're using basic content negotiation. I'm one of the editors of the W3C recipes document that basically talks about how to do that. We're using /URIs instead of hash URIs. Hash URIs they don't scale as part of the problem. If you're retrieving an RDF document that has hash URIs, you've basically got to retrieve the entire document, whereas with /URIs, if you've got 10,000 terms in a vocabulary, you're going to get all 10,000 terms returned when, with a pointer to that particular document if you're returning in a browser. But basically, retrieving an RDF document with a hash URI gets you the entire document, whereas with a / you can simply return the segment that's being requested. So we do allow you to use your own URIs. We offer URI management. We have a basic URI template that builds the URIs for you, but you can also use your own. So if you already have URIs assigned to your terms, you can use those same URIs for concepts, although it's not the best idea. We also have extension-based retrieval, so that if you simply slap an extension like .rdf on the URI, it will retrieve that particular content type. We do keep track of every change that's been made at the property level, and you can retrieve a slice through a vocabulary by simply appending a time slice to the end of the URI, and that will give you a specific time-delimited view of the vocabulary. We also let you assign a particular version name to one of those time slices, so that you can then say, this is an official, this particular slice of the vocabulary in time, we're going to keep working on it, but as of this moment, we're declaring this to be a version. You can do it at any time. You can point to any time slice in the past. It doesn't have to be right now. Once you've named a version, whenever somebody retrieves that version, they'll get that time slice. This allows systems downstream or users downstream to be able to say, I'm happy with this vocabulary right now. You guys keep developing it all you want. I don't need to know about future changes. I don't want to follow future changes. This is what I want right now, and I'm going to stick with this. And because my systems are dependent on the way this is structured right now, so that your system can use a link into the registry that provides just that one view of your vocabulary. We don't have this yet. We're going to be, in the next few weeks, hopefully, registering metadata schemas. This is an important part of our support for the RDA effort. And we'll have a metadata schema builder that will allow you to use the vocabulary spaces that are in already in the registry, as well as others, to build metadata schemas. We've been delaying that because we've been waiting for the application profile work in the Dublin Core Metadata Initiative to move a little farther along. But we kind of have to bite the bullet and say this is what we're going to support. The links that are on these pages, I assume that these slides will be somewhere. I'll put them somewhere if you guys don't. The links that are on these pages actually point to proposals. They're simply demos. There's no data behind them. They look fairly real, but they're just proof of concepts. And the same thing for application profiles. In our world, metadata schemas are kind of immutable. Once you've created a metadata schema and assigned a URI to it, that's kind of locked in. If you want to adapt it for local usage, for a local application, you then have to create an application profile built on top of it. Application profiles can use several different schemas, several different vocabularies. And again, I'm talking about Dublin Core application profiles. So you need to be able to register the schemas and vocabularies that they'll be depending on first, and then you can build the application profile on top of that. We expect to be pretty much done as far as we're going to go in this particular round, which is quite a ways, by the end of June. I'm at the moment the only person working on this, so my wife has agreed to bring me dinner once in a while. If I get her coffee in the morning. We're committed to providing some full support for the RDA effort. We're also committed to keeping this around for a very long time. 10 years was as long as we could register the domain name for, and we could only prepay our internet provider for 5 years. So the provider's going to be around for 5 years for sure. I have a big PowerEdge server sitting in my bedroom. If need be, I'll throw everything on that and keep that going, but this will be around for a while. We currently have 80 vocabularies in the registry sandbox, which is at sandbox.metadataregistry.org. And these are mostly things where people have come into play. Some of them are actually real live vocabularies that we now need to provide a mechanism for allowing people to actually publish them. The only difference between the sandbox and the regular registry is that they're completely different databases, and we don't have any commitment to keeping the sandbox database. We don't have a commitment to not breaking it periodically. And the actual content negotiation is broken in the sandbox by design. We'll be moving the sandbox data over into the main registry at some point soon and simply flagging it all as unpublished. As part of that, we need to make the statuses a little less simple. We have just 17 official vocabularies in the registry. They were put in primarily to support the NSDL effort, but there's been a few more added where people specifically wanted the ability to use the content negotiation. And here's a bunch of links. Links to SKOS, links to Dublin Core Abstract Model, the actual links to the registry. We have a blog. We have a track TRAC system, and we're keeping the code in Subversion. It's an open repository, at least for download. And you can always shoot me an email. Any questions?